A Vort from the Rebbe on this week's Parshas Matos and Masei, but we will talk about the beginning of Parshas Matos. In the beginning of Parshas Matos, it talks about a person making a neder, making a vow. And Rashi says, neder, what's a neder? So Rashi gives an example. Ha'emer, if someone says, Hareyo lai kainim shelo yochal, shelo esed over pleni. The word kainim means a vow. Someone says, I take upon myself a vow not to eat a certain thing, or not to do a certain thing, and the Pasuk says you got to keep that vow, and you got to listen to it, and you're not allowed to be over on it. Now, the real meaning of the word kainim, if you look into the Gemara, means a korban, a sacrifice. And what it means is, when you say, I make a neder that I will not eat certain things, or not do certain things, you're making really, what you're saying is, it should be like a korban. Just like a korban, you can't eat just a korban. It's a holy thing. You can't do anything. You can't make any use from something that's holy as a korban. So when you make a neder, you use the lotion that this thing that I make a neder not to eat should be to me like a korban. And what I shouldn't do, the thing that I don't want to do, should be to me forbidden like a korban. And the Rebbe says this teaches you something very, very special as a lesson in Avodas Hashem. We know that what is the idea, what Chassidus explains the union of a neder. We know usually there's a contradiction. On one hand, it says not to make nedorim. It says in Yerushalmi, a person should not make a neder and forbid to himself certain things which he is allowed. The Lashon Yerushalmi is dayoch masha asar Torah. It's enough that the Torah forbid you from doing certain things or eating certain things. Why should you add? On the other hand, we know it's a good thing to make a neder. It says in Pirkei Avos, nedorim siogla prishus, that if you make the nedorim, if you make these vows to stay away from certain things, it'll bring you to stay away from taivas, from the worldly taivas of this elam haza, of this world. So is it good to make a neder or not? And Chassidus explains, the Rebbe explains this in different places. That depends for who. Really, the highest level is not to make nedorim. Because when you eat food, obviously that you're allowed. If it's not allowed, it's not allowed. But if it's kosher food and you eat it, you elevate it. But that's only if you eat it l'shem shemayim, you have proper mind, you do everything properly, then you elevate the food. So it's a good thing. So you shouldn't stay away from having connection to the Gashmias. You should have connection to the Gashmias. Don't make a neder to stay away from it. You should, so that'll elevate it. And it'll bring you also to a higher level. But that's only a person who's able to do that. But if a person is in a lower level, and if he gets involved in the Gashmias, in the physical things, that might pull him down in the spiritual level, then stay away from it. Then make nedorim. And that's what the Mishnah means, nedorim shiogla prishus, that nedorim is a fence that helps you stay away from getting involved, indulging in the taivas of this world. So when a person is in that level, he shouldn't make nedorim and forbid for himself certain things. Even though you're allowed, he should stay away from it, because otherwise it might pull him down. Now, what do you do in order to make sure that you don't get involved in it, that shouldn't pull you down? So you make a neder. But there itself, there are two ways to look at it. You could do one thing. How do you bring yourself to make the neder, not to eat certain things, not to do certain things? You think how terrible they are, how bad it is. This thing is a taiva, this thing is a gashmis dikazach, which is no good, it's tomei, it's impure, etc., etc. That's one way. And that'll keep you away from it. And that's the way to make a neder. But the other way, the real way, is not that. The real way is, in a positive way, to look into every gashmasdika thing and try to figure out what the shayrish of it, what the root of it is. The root of everything is in high madregas, in holy places. So when you realize what the root of the thing is, how holy it is, you will stay from it, not away from it, not because it is bad and it's low and it's tummy, etc., etc. You will stay away from it because you realize that in essence it has a great kedusha like a korban. And that's the right way to do it. So by Rasha saying, which is taken from the Gemara obviously, that when you make yourself a neder to stay away from certain things, you loshen is you make hareya like kainim, which means you're making like a korban, that Rasha is telling us that the way to do it, to stay away from it and it shouldn't pull you down, that's why you make a neder. Look at it that you don't want to do it because it's so great, it's so high, it's like a korban. So you look at the shayrish of it, which this fits to b'chal the derech of Chassidus. In Chassidus we learn that everything should be in a positive way. Normally we know there is sur merav asei tov, stay away from evil and do good. So Doing good is positive. Staying away from evil is something don't do. Stay away from it. But even that, Chassidus says, should be in a positive way. Stay away from evil, not because of the bad part of it. Stay away from evil when you realize in everything that there is a good shayrish and everything is good, and sometimes it's so good that we have to stay away from it because of its holiness. So Chassidus says the right way to do everything is only in a positive way. So even the Sur Meirah has to be in the form of realizing the greatness of it, and that's why I stay away from it. Realizing the Shayrish of Ra, and as Chassidus explains at length, this is not the place to explain it, that the lower it is, then it has a higher Shayrish, and b'meila higher Shayrish means that in the higher levels, this thing that comes down here as being not so good is really because it's in a higher level, etc., etc. And that's what Rashi teaches us, that you make a neder to stay away from eating certain foods or doing certain things. You should do it by realizing the positive, not by doing it because this is bad. Sometimes it could be that the person is such a low level that the only way he can stay away from it when he says that this looks at all these things which are no good, and he says how bad they are and how tummy they are. Sometimes you got to do that too. But the higher level, the better level, the right level to reach is to stay away from it, but because you know that the shadish is great, and it becomes, it's really in essence a holy thing, and you still have to stay away from a korban. And that's the lesson that Rashi teaches us by saying that what's a neder, to stay away from certain gashmistic things, hareya like kainim, that I look at it as if it's a korban, and that's why I stay away from it. So you look at the positive thing of it, and that's the way it's going to bring you to stay away from it. And the Mela, you will not fall down lower because you stay away from things which might pull you down, but you stay away from it in such a positive way, seeing the shadish, seeing that everything is really in shadish is holy.